من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على سيدنا وعظيمنا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وأهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الصادقين المظلومين المنتجبين المنتخبين الذين
ما شاء الله
أذهب الله الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على وصي مصطفى عبدك ووليك وأخي رسولك وحجتك على خلقك وآيتك الكبرى والنبأ العظيم أبا الحسنين مولى القونين إمام الثقلين يأسوب الدين سيد المتقين رأس المحسنين سلطان الأولياء أمير المؤمنين أول المسلمين أسد الله الغالب غالب كل غالب مظهر العجائب علي بن أبي طالب.
اللهم صل على محمد.
الحمد لله الذي لا يهتك حجابه ولا يخلق بابه ولا يرد سائله ولا يخيب آمله. أما بعد، فيقول الله في كتاب الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. Brothers, sisters, respected elders, scholars, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I've had the honor and the pleasure to recite in front of you the chapter 2, verse 183 in the Holy Quran,
MashaAllah,
where Allah Subhanho wa Taala states, those of you who believe, fasting is prescribed for you as it was for those before you. Perhaps you may reach righteousness or reach taqwa, God consciousness. Now this particular verse we've heard many a time, and many people have done its tafsir, but what I want to do in this lecture today is look at this verse in depth so we actually have an understanding of what this verse is trying to tell us. The first thing that informs us is those of you who believe. So this verse is not directed at, for example, the Muslims in a sense, because a Muslim is on the very low level of understanding of this Islam, which is Muslim is the one who submits. A believer is the one who has gone past submitting and he's understood his religion and therefore harnessed Iman within himself. And indeed we all strive to do this. And indeed you have this concept of maturity. See, many of us are mature intellectually. As in, I know many a person who, for example, has 5 different PhDs. See, he's reached intellectual maturity, but yet he's atheist. So he's gained all of this knowledge, yet he does not believe. Many of us are in the same boat. We've been born into this religion, we've accepted that we're Muslims, but do we truly believe with our hearts? It's a completely different thing. Being a Muslim and understanding why you are Muslim and reaching a level of Iman is two different things. Many people, when you go for a job interview, or when it asks you a question in the questionnaire for a job or university, and they ask you which religion are you, and people take Muslim. They should have another question after that about what is it to be a Muslim. I guarantee you probably 80% of the whole community would fail at this exam. I remember myself, when I was doing GCSEs, and obviously as you know in GCSEs the curriculum that is taught is not of the Shia school of thought. So I still remember how I would always get it wrong, because the thing is, according to the mark scheme, my answers were incorrect. And likewise, although we tick this box, we don't actually understand what it means to be a Muslim. We've said that we believed, but we haven't accepted it within our hearts. And that's why Allah Subhanho wa Taala makes it very clear that there's a massive difference between submitting, becoming a Muslim, and being a mu'min. That's why there's a whole surah on what it means to be a mu'min. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. And then the rest of the surah, there's no need for me to, start reciting Quran in front of you guys. I'm sure you're more than aware. But you find that what's important here is the different points that are mentioned. And I want to elaborate a little bit on these points. See, the first point is prayer, to pray. And many of us, we're like parrots, we continue, we pray up and down, salat al-layl, pray. But you find that when you ask someone about what it means to pray, what's the philosophy behind praying, do you understand what's coming out of your mouth? People would say, no, I don't understand. So you need to have humility within your prayer. Some people, you lead Jama'ah, for example, or you come to prayer, and you see some people, they come to prayer and, he sticks his chest out and, MashaAllah, I'm going to pray now. Brother, you're going to pray in front of God, or you're going to have an MMA fight? You look at them and you think, wow, this is the humility that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala talks about within your prayer. And what does it mean to be humble? Humility or being humble is not just about praying. It's about praying on time. Because if you're not praying on time, then effectively, what are you? You think you have an ego problem. I can pray whenever I want. God will have to accept it. Because I pray on my clock, not on God's clock. See, this is not humility within prayer. And the funny thing about all of this is, you meet a celebrity, for example. You find when someone meets a celebrity, you understand the point in a few seconds, that you meet a celebrity and you find that people start shivering. They start trembling. They start breathing heavy. They start sweating a little bit. Even, for example, if I was to point someone out in the lecture right now, and I asked him something, even if he knew the answer, he starts sweating. Why? Because he's being put on the spot. And you find that when a celebrity is in front of us, or it's a job interview or a business deal, the brother or the sister will sweat, perspiration, won't be able to get the words out properly, won't be able to have the idea straight in the head. But you find when it comes to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, MashaAllah, quicker than a Ferrari. Praying so fast, not a problem. You find that our Imams, when they would go in front of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, they would quiver, they would shake. Was it because of fear? No. It was because they recognized the position. That is the first and foremost thing of being a believer. Recognizing who you are praying to.
MashaAllah.
See, once you can understand this small little thing, then we can go into all the different ulums of the religion. The problem is, today, this is the massive problem we have. Everyone in the society is an intellectual. Everyone Everyone's an historian. Everyone knows, for example, eschatology. Everyone knows mysticism and philosophy as in a knowledge. But sadly what? Sadly they don't know the basic thing of understanding who you're sitting in front of, who you're kneeling in front of, who you're standing in front of. I speak to myself before I speak to any of you guys, obviously. But it's something, it's food for thought. That have we realized who we're standing in front of? Because only then can we say that we are believers. I can pick up some poor man in the middle of the street and say to him, brother, I will give you £1,000, fast from dawn till dusk. Do you think he'll do it? Of course he's going to do it. No problem. Walk in the park. But you find that when you fast with the truest of intentions, the purest of intentions, then you can be successful and remove the barriers between you and Allah Subhanho wa Taala. The second point that the surah mentions is what is speaking ill, having bad language, bad akhlaq. This is very important. Why? I'll give you an example. You know, many of us, we have road rage. Yes? Many of us, we have road rage. As in those of you who drive cars will know. Or indeed, if you drive bikes, you know, when the car's trying to run you over. I am guilty of that many times. You find that, what happens? He's driving and he's swearing. He's shouting. Honestly, I'll tell you, some people, if they could take the steering wheel and throw it at people, they would. I've seen it with my own eyes. Some people, they've taken the coffee cup and they've thrown it under the car because they're so angry. It's really amusing. But you find that what? You find that this is very important because a believer would not do such things. He would be in control of himself, in control of his tongue. And indeed, some of the biggest sins that are done by us are done by the smallest of pieces in our mouth. We need to keep ourselves in check. And until we do not do this, how can we claim, brothers and sisters, to be believers? Another thing is charity. Another thing that's mentioned in the surah is charity. How do we give charity? Charity is not, for example, you see a beggar in the street and you throw him £1 and 10p and 1p. You know, you have pity for him. No, this is not charity. The Ahlul Bayt teach us what is charity. They say Amir al-Mu'mineen had 1 dinar and he gave that dinar to Miqdad and stayed hungry, and his children stayed hungry themselves. See, this is true charity. See, I'm not coming here and telling you that if you have £1 million and you give £100,000, or you have £100 and you've given £10, that's not charity. Because at the end of the day, what it truly hinges on is what? Is your intention, your niyyah. But do we have the right intention? Because if you want the praise of man, in the praise of man you will get that. It's not a problem. People can praise all the time. People come here and say, MashaAllah, Muhammad, what a lovely lecture you got, and later on, same people, they'll go home and say, you know, that guy's useless. It's true. Everyone has their opinion, it's subjective. But that's the reality of it. Now, what is your intention when you say something, when you do something? What is your intention behind it? And this will tie in later in the lecture when I make my points in regards to fasting. And fulfilling of duties. Many people, they will spend £1,000 to go to Morocco. I know of people. They'll go to places and in one day, they'll spend £2,000, but they've never done Hajj in their life. One day they'll spend £2,000. Some people spend £5,000 in a night. Allahu Akbar. For what? Nothing. But yet they will not fulfill their duties. So these are some of the traits of a believer. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyamu kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum. Oh, those of you who believe, fasting is prescribed for you and for those before you. So one of the main questions I always get asked is, Muhammad, what's the difference between a Hindu fasting, a Sikh fasting, a Baha'i fasting, for example? I don't know whether you know what Baha'i is, but the Baha'i faith, their fasting is very similar to our own. And I'd ask you to definitely research their faith, because in an interfaith dialogue or discussion, it'd be really useful. What's the difference between a Hindu fasting, Christian fasting, and everyone else fasting, and a Muslim fasting? Well, firstly, our fast is that of, and as taught by Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad salawatullah wa sallam. And this within itself is a blessing, that we are following in the footsteps of the holy ones. And this within itself will give us a spiritual rejuvenation like no other. But indeed, every fasting has a benefit, and there's different versions of fasting. Some people will fast from carbohydrates, for example, the paleo diet. Or some people will do a warrior diet, which is when they eat once a day, which is similar to what we do. Some people will have what? They will have a partial fast, or intermittent fasting, for example. And all of these versions of fasting have benefits. But the question is, why does Allah Subhanho wa Taala specifically prescribe fasting in this religion and other religions that existed before? Many people will come here on member, or for example in the crowd, when they ask, why do we fast? People give you, oh, because of health reasons. Oh, so we're fasting because of health reasons. So why is the guy who's got a six-pack, why is he fasting? He doesn't need to fast. Frankly speaking, if someone's that muscly, fasting is detrimental to him, because he loses muscles. Yes? Those of you who know, and those of you who don't know, well, I asked you to pick up a nutritional guide. So you find that those people will lose muscle, and it will be harmful to them in terms of their goals and aspirations. So you can't say that Islam come forward and say fasting is for health benefits. I'm not talking about science. Science, yes, science says that there's fasting benefits health-wise, no doubt. I'm not denying that. But what I'm saying is that what Islam is saying to us, that we're fasting because of health reasons, no, that's not the reason. And I remember when I was always asked this question as a child, I said, why do you fast? And I would say, oh, because we want to feel what the poor feel. That's the standard answer. A lot of people say that. Also, we can feel what the poor feel. Islam comes forward and says, no, that's not the reason. Why? Why is that not? Because fasting is also prescribed for the poor people. It's not just for the people who are rich or the people who are normal. It's prescribed for the healthy. It's prescribed for the poor and everyone else in between. So the question is, why do we fast? What's the point? So Muhammad, you're saying it's not for health reasons, it's not for social reasons. The reason to why fasting is prescribed for us is because it cleanses our souls. It cleanses our nafs. It helps our spirituality, especially in a world where we're governed by materialism. Are governed in a way where on the billboards women are told, and in movies men are told and women are told that you should look like this and you should be like this and you should wear makeup and you should be doing exfoliation and all of these branded products. You should be doing all of these things. In a world where materialism is pushed upon us, fasting is that one sole pillar that says to you, it is time for you to leave everything. Brother, if you are attached to smoking, then Allah says stop smoking. If you are attached to drinking, then Allah says stop drinking. If you are attached to food, then Allah says to you stop eating in this holy month. And understand what I said, because my words, don't take them lightly. I said it is the only pillar. Why? Why? In Hajj, Allah tells you to do something. In Zakat, Allah tells you to do something. In Jihad, Allah tells you to do something. In Zakat, Allah tells you to do something. Every single one of them, Allah tells you to do something. This one He says don't do. He says, don't do it. Don't drink. Don't eat. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to tell you, oh man, this is the month. Why is this month called a spiritual month? Why is it that no matter if you've been clubbing all your life, drinking all your life, eating haram all your life, in the month of Shahru Ramadan, in Shahru Ramadan, you find that every single person says this is the month of spirituality. Why? Because Allah is removing the attachments from you. He's saying it is time for you to peel away at your soul so that we can break the barriers between you and I, so that you can become and come closer to me once again. This is what Shahrul Ramadan is. This is what it's all about. Why is it prescribed to us? It is like that medicine that will cleanse you of your illnesses if you let it. If you let it. Why do I say if? Because what is the next few words in the surah? It says, la'alla, perhaps. Perhaps. If I was to change the verse slightly, and I said, la'alla munafiqeen, for example, would it fit? Would it fit? So Muhammad, you can't change the verse in the Quran. Totally agree, I can't do that. But think about this for a second. If fasting has been prescribed before us, and is prescribed now for spiritual cleanliness, yet we are not cleansed, then what does that make us? What does that make us? It makes us hypocrites. If, for example, we are going towards prayer, and all we can think about is what my mother's made, then what does that make us? If, for example, all day I've been fasting, I woke up for Salatul Fajr, then I prayed in between, I went to work, I prayed at work, I prayed when I came home, I read the Quran, and then the last 10 minutes of the fast I start swearing at my wife. See, you find it funny because you know it's true, right? You start swearing at your wife, you start shouting at your mum. Food is 1 minute late and people have heart attack. It's true. You're laughing, you find it funny, but it's the fact. It's the fact of life. I'm not going to come here and tell you something philosophical and psychological. I'm telling you how the world is. I'm telling you what reality is. On the ground, the reality is la'alla. That is the reality. Perhaps. It reminds me of a story. There was a parrot. There's a parrot, and all his life, right? And I think I've mentioned this before, but it sinks in nicely. Is a parrot, and all his life it says La ilaha illallah. All the parrot's life, La ilaha illallah. All of its life. It's like our fast. All day, La ilaha illallah. Nearly had a car crash, didn't say anything. Some child stepped on my foot, was patient, didn't say anything. No problem. I fought my ego all day long. Last 10 minutes I ruined everything, just like the parrot. All the parrot's life, La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. And you know when the parrot came to meet his death, and the death came in the form of a cat or a fox. And the cat comes and he attacks the parrot. And they say, you know, when you're about to die, you're supposed to say, Ashhadu Allah ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah, and so forth and so on. You're supposed to say this. What did the parrot say? All the parrots love La ilaha illallah. And then, just when the death came, started screaming. So this old man came in. The old man came in and said, MashaAllah, I heard about this parrot. And you know what? If this parrot was real, you know, this parrot would be, you know, like going for a tour in all the mosques, you know. Parrot probably make more money than Bill Gates. You know what people are like. You know, it's when you were younger, you would see a cloud. You know, on the internet, there would be a cloud, and it looks like it says Allah, and then everyone would get the cloud. Everywhere you look, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the cloud is everywhere. Oh, mashallah, miracle, it says Allah. Bro, it's probably some guy doing Photoshop and you're getting happy for no reason. Anyway, so back to the parrot. La ilaha illallah, its life. Right the last minute starts screaming. Doesn't remember Allah in its final moments. This is exactly like our fast. All day long. La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasul, Quran, Bismillah, MashaAllah, Alhamdulillah. As soon as he gets home, you know, if you want to know who's a believer and who's not, ask their wife. Ask the sister, ask the brother, they'll tell you that this guy is a believer or not. Comes home, last 10 minutes, starts swearing, starts shouting, starts cursing. Ruins the whole fast for the whole day. And this happens every single day. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, لَعَلَّكُمْ. Perhaps you may be righteous. Perhaps you may gain taqwa. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not just put words there for no reason. لَعَلَّكُمْ is the most important word in the whole of this verse. The whole of this verse is made and broken by la'alla. Perhaps we may be successful. Perhaps we may be righteous. And what does it mean to have taqwa? What does it mean to be righteous? Taqwa, loosely, is God consciousness. But what does it mean to be God conscious, brothers and sisters? It means to be aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It means that when you walk, you remember Allah. You talk, you remember Allah. Even when you're angry, you ask yourself, am I angry for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Or am I angry for the sake of my nafs? Brothers and sisters, if you think for a second that you've said that you've believed, you've come here and acknowledged that we're Muslims, and you're not embarrassed. Look at many people, they're embarrassed. Especially if someone asks you, oh, are you Muslim? I guess, you know, kind of. Yeah, kind of. I'm Muslim, slightly, inshallah. I mean, yeah, definitely. So you find that people are embarrassed. And those of us who are not embarrassed and say, yes, we are Muslim, ask yourself this question. That once you've claimed that you believe, do you think you won't be tested? Wallah, brothers and sisters, you'll be tested when you're driving and you have to make a decision whether to shout at that driver or not. You will be tested. The last 10 minutes, when you have to make a decision of your fast, that do I read the Quran or do I waste my time, you will be tested. That when you come up and you read in front of people and arrogance creeps into your heart, you will be tested. When you eat your food and eat like an animal, then know that you're being tested. Every move you make, every sound that comes out of your mouth, know that you're being tested. Because if you think for a second that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not watching, then you have not understood God consciousness. You have not understood what taqwa is. Many people come and they give you these words and say, you know, give you all these metaphors and, you know, tell you on a psychological level, a philosophical level. I'm a straight-edged sword. I say it how it is. And the one question I ask is that, do we truly have taqwa? Because every day we are tested. And how many times do we fail the test every day? What face are we going to show our 12th Imam? What face? We come here and we cry for these individuals, but every day we fail our tests. And then we come and say we are the 313. We come here and we say, oh, I'm this and I'm that. When all we do is suffer from our egos. We let our egos take control every single day. Some people say, oh, you know, why are we tested? You know why we're tested? so that light can shine through the wounds of our tests. But the question is, will we allow that light to shine through? Or will we just fall prey to many people that have come before us? Brothers and sisters, many people have come into this world to seek the dunya. And you know, when they've gone into their grave, when you look in their grave, and what's the difference between a rich man and a poor man? You know what the difference is? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Maybe you'll get a nice coffin. But what use is that? Maybe they'll put you in a nice suit or something. But what is that suit when the ants are going to rip away and eat away at it? And that's why, brothers and sisters, I urge you, just like your first Imam, I urge you to live a life of simplicity. Do not be those people who have fallen prey to their ego. And be like the believers that the Holy Quran speaks about. And then truly, inshallah, you will reach taqwa. And we know that one of the most pious people, one of the most humble people that ever walked and graced this earth was Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib sallallahu You find he was such a personality that he would have no more than 2 types of food in front of him in a sitting. Brothers and sisters, do not be like those Muslims, those Shia specifically, who come to majlis for 10 days, who fast for 30 days, 29 days. It is recommended to fast on Mondays and Thursdays. It is recommended to fast at the beginning of the month, the middle of the month, and the end of the month. Yes, it is mustahab, but Allah Subhanho wa Taala is giving you the keys to your salvation, and yet you reject it. It's like me giving you all the treasures in the world and you slapping me across the face. Your Imam was a man who used to fast all the time. To the extent they said that he would put boulders, stones on his stomach to ward off the pain of his fasts. Why? Because this is what it takes. Hard work and dedication to reach the high levels of spirituality. It's not an easy path. But no one said it would be. No one promised it would be. That's why you find that Amir al-Mu'mineen says to his daughter, I want to go back to my Lord on an empty stomach, on a light stomach. And this Amir al-Mu'mineen who used to read in the middle of the night, they say it could be heard in the echoes in the mosque. They could hear him and say, Mawla They say Amir al-Mu'mineen on that night went towards the mosque and the dogs began to screech as to say, oh Imam, do not to go